Yeah, so I'm recording the session as we normally do, even though I might not be able to get feedback from you because of your network connection. But since you say that you can clearly hear me and see me, let me carry on the session. So today I want us to just go through the drawing that you did for the ambassador and critique it. So I had hoped that I'd be able to draw my version as well, but I guess I'll work on your version so that you can see how you could actually improve it. So I'm gonna share my screen. Could you please confirm for me if you can see my screen? Okay, I'll just take it that you can see my screen. So this were your base colors. This were the colors that you came up with for the ambassador. I really love the base colors because they show potential which the artwork could take. If we were to critique the sketch there, let me pull it up. Let me pull up the drawing, import. So since I'm using Clip Studio Paint, I'll just import it like this. So these are some of the artworks that you've been working on. But for the session, we'll just be focusing on what you are currently working on. So this is the reference you were working with. And this is what you ultimately ended up with. So I was a bit concerned when I saw the final artwork against the reference and the base. So the base colors were really, really good. I love what you did with the base colors. And now let's look at the output. So this is it. This is the output. I didn't want to critique the overall gesture because I sort of liked it. I mean, even though Brucey was complaining about, which he was right to, looking at the reference, to say that our character looks the character that you came up with looks a bit older because of the many lines that he has. And when you look at the reference, it doesn't have a lot of lines, even though he's an elderly gentleman, but he doesn't have a lot of lines. He's aging gracefully, as some would say. So we need to do that. But before we get any further, we need to establish, as an artist, when you're drawing something, you need to establish whether you are drawing, in what style are you drawing in? Are you drawing as like realism or cartoon? And for the sake of the project that you're working on, it's my understanding that you are not particularly doing realism, but you're trying to capture, the lookability or likability of the character, of the reference for the character. So if we take this and then we look at what you've done, I'd say the base color looks really, really amazing. I love the base colors. But I'd say they got butchered when we came here. When we came to the final output, because we don't want to be producing work that looks like, I don't know what to say, that looks like something like this, because it's not, I would say it's not particularly appealing when it's like this. You understand? But I mean, because of the colors, it looks like it was something maybe done in 1995 or something like this. So when you're working on a project like this, a big project like this, it has to be modern because it's going to be appealing to the youth. You want the youth to say, oh, but we like this, it looks like him, or something like that. So, okay, let me just try and show you something here on the reference. I'm gonna use red because it's easy to see red. You need to, we talked about this earlier on when we were studying our session. So you need to understand the shapes that form your character. Like you need to understand the shape of the head. So if we were to look at his chin, it's more like this. So it makes some sort of triangle. So the shape for the chin would be a triangle like this. For the chin and the jaw would be like this. And then the shape of his head is something like that. It's something like that. So you need to understand the shapes when you're working on this character design. And then you also need to look at the positioning of the ears, you know, with the jaw, with how everything relates to one another. So we wouldn't particularly say that the ears are in the middle. They are sort of in the lower section of the head. So if this is how high up the head goes, and then we measure them against the jaw, they're too close, right? They're too close down. And also compared to the nose, because it seems as if he's slightly looking up, slightly looking up. You see where the nose is? So we need to be able to see this. And then the other ear, let me change colors for this. And maybe use green. So this is the ear position. And then the other ear should be somewhere like this because it's getting into the body. You can't see because he's looking at us. You can't see much of it because he's looking at us from an angle. And then we'll use blue for the nose. So the nose is here. But what I like about his nose is that let me rub this off. So what I like about his nose is that the nose takes this shape like this, and then it goes to the sides like this, which I feel like you've done a really good job on. So the nose is like this. But when you look at the nose, it has its own presence. It's not swallowed up by the rest of the face. So on his actual face, using this one particular reference, it seems as if the nose is bigger, not too big. When you compare it with, the width of his mouth, it's slightly bigger than what we have on the reference. So when you're doing likability of a character or lookability of a character, you need to work on unique identifiers of the person. What would people say sets him apart? Looking at the reference would say, okay, the position of the ears, and then we do also the chin, the nose, his presence, the presence on his face, like the smile, the fact that he's got that fresh looking skin on him. So this is what we're supposed, he's got like mature skin, but it's not wrinkled up. It's not wrinkled up. So we're supposed to work on such things. And as I zoom in, you can see for his skin, it's more smoother. And he has a calmness to his face. So those are some of the things that we're supposed to show as we do the drawing. And then the calmness comes across in the smile and in how the eyes are, because those are some of the elements that show emotion. So if we look at your eyes are just normal looking eyes. If we come to the character's eyes, let me use a different color. Yellow maybe. Let's try yellow. So when we come to the eyes, so we talked about, not sure if yellow works. Let's just use green. So we talked about how to draw the eye. This is how you draw the eye. You go for the eyeball, and then you add the black in there. So, and then you wrap the skin around it. You wrap the skin around it. So it would be something like this, looking at the eyes. Something like, and then it comes down here, like this. And then you go for your highlights. And then you go for your highlights. You add your highlights in there. Yeah, so this is how you do the eyes. Obviously, you're gonna have to cover up this black here and fix it up so that it doesn't look weird. And at the top, so that you get that shape of the eye. So this is how we're supposed to do the eye compared to, you see how ours is just straight and it doesn't follow those lines. I hope I'm making sense.
You're making sense.
I like that. Yes, the nose, you nailed it. I love the nose, the way you did it. So, which means then that we have to reduce a lot of the lines that we have there. We can just have maybe the smiley lines, but everything else would then have to go for the character to look more appealing. And then if we can, we'd have to fix the chin and make it more triangular than more boxy. Here it's a bit boxy. If you look at the reference, it's a bit triangular. That's the shape that it gives us. So remember the issue of shapes all the time. And now, when we look at the hands, So there's something called foreshortening in drawing. Foreshortening is when you make the foreground object of the subject to look bigger than than some of the parts of the body, because they're closer to the foreground, they're closer to the camera than everything else. So when you look at the reference, his hands are big, his hands are huge. So it gives us an opportunity to apply foreshortening here and make the hands huge. But the way you've done it this side, it's that small, so it's way smaller compared to the head. And again, you've done spaghetti fingers. You've done spaghetti fingers. So I want you to pay attention to this. When you draw a hand, you need to use shapes. You need to use shapes everywhere. Like if I'm to draw my hand, I'd probably do something like this for the palm. Something like this for the palm. And then I do this for the thumb. So then the thumb goes in here. That's how it is. Even when you turn to look at your palm, you'd always find this big portion here. And then you would have your fingers. This is the index finger, if I'm not mistaken, yes. And then you have your ring finger in the middle. And then, or you have your middle finger, and then you have your ring finger here, which is normally in most cases the same size as the index. And then you have your pinky coming in here. Some pinkies are smaller, some are longer, but this would be how you draw, the hand. It doesn't have to be spaghetti. And then you look at the hand. It'd be maybe something like this. Something like this. Then the name would be here. Something like breakpoint for the hand would be like this. And then for the pinky it would be like that. So here, breakpoint would be somewhere here. And then here as well. So which means when you draw the hand all the time, you're not supposed to look at the spaghettiness here. We don't know what that means. It's not supposed to be like this. It's not noodles. There are bones in there. So that's why it's always good to understand the base structure of whatever you're doing. And I said last time that for you to be a good artist, you need to understand biology. You also need to understand physics. So, and now, if we look at this finger, if we look at the hand, the shapes are there. This is the shape. This is the shape. The same as I've just shown you. So it's like this. Like this. Fingers are more like cylinders. So it'd be like that. The connecting point, like this. I want you to notice how there are no spaces in between, but yours are riddled with spaces. All right, and then this one for the pinky. The pinky is the only one where we have the space, and then it goes down like this. So you always have to bring in the concept of opposing shapes, opposing curves, and this, right? Because you're drawing for cartoons, they shouldn't just be straight. You can bend them a bit, but bend them in the right way. So opposing curves is where some people call it flow, where you have something like this, and then the next one goes the other way. The next one goes the other way. So you could definitely do this with the bones, the bone structure in your fingers, and it will look really, really nice once finished. So yeah, so these are some of the things that you were supposed to look at when you were doing the drawing. So skin is very important. Skin tone, we talked about this earlier on. It's very critical for the character development, because you see how this character looks. But I want us now to go to your artworks. You see how all these lines, the lights that you put in, does not bring out the thing really well. It makes it look unappetizing, if I may say. I want us to go to it. You see, this is what I was talking about. This here. So you see where the cursor is like this. You don't always have to do this. You don't always have to do this when you're working on the character. So let me try something for you here, sir. All right, cool. So we have the main character here. This is your drawing, by the way, it's still your drawing. Let me reduce it a bit. Yeah, so even if you left the couch this way, it still would have been fine. So I have this is a PNG format that I rasterized. So I'm gonna create a layer and clip it to this. We talked about this last time. Oh. My bad. New layer. Clip it. Switch to my, I'm using purple as the shadow color. I come to multiply, reduce the opacity. And now I'm gonna look at the character and see, I'm applying the shadows. You always need to get an appreciation of where the light is coming from. So the light here is mostly coming from, from the camera. It could be flashlight reflecting on him. So, but then the left side of the character as we're looking at him is more darker. So this is me applying the colors, the shadows. shadows. Always need to understand where the light is coming from. So the nose will always have a shadow under it. So simplicity is the best key most of the time. We have a lot of shadow here, just like a rim of sorts under the chin. And then you could put also shadow under the collar, slightly small. So you also have to interpret the drawing for it to work for you. And then there's a lot of shadow here under the jacket for the folds and the jacket. You don't always have to do all this many lines. They're not really meant to be there all the time. You can just use your shadows. You see how you have a lot of lines there? So many lines. So you can also come here and put in a bit of shadow there. A bit of shadow here. You can also make it lighter. You don't always have to use like cell shading. As you interpret the drawing, you can see how best to apply your shading techniques. And then here under the hands, we have shadow. Yeah, it really shows that a flashlight was being used. Either a flashlight or he was in too much, under too much lighting. Yeah, remember some of this, there's no spaces. If you look at the reference, there's no spaces. So you could really fix that to make the drawing more appealing. And we do need to fix this spaghetti fingers, so try to work on that. Shadow under the t-shirt and here as well. So you see how also what makes the hands to be uninteresting or unpalatable, for lack of a better word, is how they sort of rest, the shirt rests on even your arms, but there should be the space which we can clearly see here. We should have the space that we can see here. If you can locate where the cursor is for the shirt. So it's also one of the reasons why then the hands look funny, because the wrist is just part of the hand. It's one and the same thing. So you also need to work on that and fix that. And then you can come here to put more shadow, just a little bit to show that there wasn't a lot of light reaching this side. And then here as well, under the jacket. Under the jacket, this one. Probably goes all the way up. We can't see because of our layer that we're working on. And we have shadow here again. So it's always good to identify where your shadows are as you work on your piece. We don't have a lot of shadows on the jacket because it's light. So under like normal circumstances when you're drawing, especially making cartoons, the eyebrows always cast a shadow. The eyebrows and the eyelids, they always cast a shadow. So you come into the eyes and put in a little bit of shadow. Also, it helps so that your eyes don't look like they are white. They're not supposed to be pure white at all. Just put a little bit there, a little bit shadow here. You've done it with the blackness. And then you can put in a little bit for the teeth as well. Teeth are also not supposed to be white. They're not supposed to be white at all. Put a little shadow here, or shadow in the ears. So when you're doing cartoons and shading, the ears will always have a shadow inside them, a darkness to them. It's like light doesn't reach, that far deep in the ear. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of eyebrows because he's old, they've probably dissolved. So yeah, you can come and see the shadow under the nose, put in the shadow under the nose. And then let's add one more shadow here under the lips. You can also use a shadow to make the smiley lines. For the smiley lines. Even for this one here, you don't really need the line. You could just use a bit of shadow and then remove the line. So, and then now we have to add the lighting. You go to your layer, you go to overlay, go back to the white. And I like to use, you could actually use yellow or something else for overlay, but I like to use white and then reduce the opacity as low as you can. And now that's when you come and work on how the light is hitting the face. I'm just going to work on what you've already done, not really redraw it, or change the colors, but just to try and improve on what you already have. Now, you don't need to make every little light reflection that you get, just the main ones. And they don't have to be the way they are there, but your interpretation of how the light is hitting the subject is important. And then here for the lips, and then here for the chin area, like this. And then you have this one here from the light above. So you could also just add this one like this, slightly smaller. And then you come here and do, let's try and remove most of these lines. Let's try and remove most of these lines. We're just experimenting for now to see how it looks. Okay, we also need to remove this sharp line here. It's quite sharp. The jaw is quite sharp, just to reduce it slightly. And we can also come and work on the changing the hair, make him look more mature. So we need to do that in terms of making his beard look a little bit more mature. So we're just eyeballing it for now and just trying out things to see what can work, what. So let's give him some eyebrows, just a little. Come to the hair again and make it a bit grayer. I mean, we could just use solid colors for the hair. Come to the eyes and add a bit of highlight. Eyes always have, a highlight, especially in the light like this. We talked about this though, but unless if somebody is dead, if you are dead, yes, then there's nothing. But if you are alive, always have highlights. See, not too much, just a little bit. Let's go back to our shadows and add shadows to the side of the face. And a little bit of shadow here above the eyes, under the eyebrows, because eyebrows always, like I was saying, always cast the shadow. Always. I don't want to do the fingers much and the hands because they still need a lot of work to look proper. We need a little bit of work. Okay, now let me leave it there for now. And then we can do the comparison. Okay, I'm tempted to add a bit of rim light, but let me not add it for now, just so that you can see what we're trying to achieve. Comparison 101. Yeah. Can you see the difference, Kamohelo?
There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference.
Yes. So the difference there is that the one that I did, it doesn't have a lot, right? But you can see it looks more mature, it looks more like him. It's but I didn't do the mouth, by the way. But it's not a big deal. I can go back and do it. But the minimal experience, you had really good base colors. That's what I'm trying to say. All you needed was to just follow the lessons that we had in class last time. So I could also add a secondary darker shadow. You know, I could add a secondary darker shadow for the dark shadows, but I decided not to for the sake of this demonstration.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope this makes sense, man, and you can take something away from it and yeah, and learn something. Make it more interesting, make it more appealing, make it look modern and not a bit old school.
Yes. Thank you. Like you see, the way you made it made me realize that, and also made me remember that Victor said the guy looks older on the illustration, and I didn't see that. I
Yeah.
only see it now when we're doing the comparison.
Okay.
And wow, there's a huge difference. There's so much. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've learned something, and then if you're gonna go back and work on it, then you know how to fix it, what to fix, and going forward, what to do going forward.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I have like the points I just wrote down
Yeah.
to use less lines
Yes.
and not to put too much not to put too much because ends up taking away the actual character itself.
That's true. And if you look at the way you done the hands and the fingers, when you color them, and now it was like he had painting over because it was more like bones than fingers. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to work on that minimalistic approach without really losing the essence. And also go back to the shapes that I was showing you. When you look at the character or the reference, you have to understand first the shapes that make up that person. And you try to apply them, even though you're not going for realism as much, but you try to apply them to just so that it looks like him.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Any questions?
Mm, no, I'm not thinking of any. Not
Okay.
thinking of any questions.
You will go and apply what we talked about.
Yes.
And
Is
also,
this are you oh is this
yes,
going to be like posted immediately or for some time?
I'm not sure when Victor is gonna share it. I'll share it with him. But
Okay.
how long do you think you'd be able to make the corrections and show us what the changes that you would have made, the improvements?
Um late tomorrow or like
Okay.
yeah, late tomorrow in the
Okay.
afternoon.
No, perfect. I'd be looking forward to seeing those changes. And yeah, man, I'm happy that every day we get to learn something new, or we get to remind ourselves of what we had previously learned.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, buddy. See you next session. See you next week. What are you going to be working on after making the corrections? Do you have something else that you'll be working on?
For myself or for
No,
Victor?
for Victor.
Oh, I don't know for now. I don't know because this was the
It was
only
the only
thing.
project.
Yeah, yeah, this was the only project for this week.
Okay. All right.
But
No worries.
I can, mm,
You can
maybe
do.
I can do something something of my own on the side when I get free time.
Yes, because it's always important to keep practicing. The more practice you put
Yes,
in, the better your art gets.
and then we can create that because I've only done pencils. Yeah, so
Okay. Share with me what you've done, like even
yes,
outside, so that I can also help when we have time to go through it
yes.
and help you improve.
Okay, I'll share it once I've fixed my scanner.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kamohelo. Have a wonderful day and a good weekend ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. You too.
Cheers, buddy.
Sharp, sharp.
Sure.